Okay, welcome back to the garage. Have a lower workout for you today. So gonna time it. Let's see how fast we can get it done. I have deficit conventional pulls. Ugh, not happy about it. And then I have just some other lower stuff, some stuff for the glutes. So let's get to it. I probably actually even shouldn't complain too much because I'm on undulating in this hypertrophy block in powerlifting. So I actually had my heavier conventional deficits last week. So this week is just straight across sets. Make sure when you're answering the readiness questionnaire that you're actually just answering the questions like do you feel motivated? Do you feel like, is anything hurting? My lower back is a bit tight, and that's only just my own fault, not from any type of lifting. So make sure that you put that in there and it'll actually lower your straight sets as well. So let's go. I always do my first warm-ups with deadlifts, just do RDLs, kind of get the hamstrings firing a little bit. That's my preferred way. I don't like to just load up even with 60 kilos and start from there. A lot of people complain about it's too much volume. I know for me, even in hypertrophy blocks, I cannot handle, my back cannot handle a ton of deadlift volume anymore. So make sure in the app, you can hit the little I, preferred rep style, high, medium, or low. If I change that to low, you'll see in there I went from 6 reps to 5 reps. So maybe not a huge difference because obviously when you're in hypertrophy, you still want to be within a certain rep range, but it will take you to that lower rep range if the volume just becomes unmanageable. So got to my working sets already. Again, this is my lighter week, so it's straight sets across. One thing to note on deficits should only be a 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches max, mainly because you do not want to alter your starting position. I'm already short. I don't have like extremely long arms. So if I were to use like a 2 or 3 inch deficit, my start position would end up being here versus still being relatively close to how I would pull off the floor, because that's what you want to do. You want to reinforce good starting position. It's going to force you to keep your lats tight. So make sure your deficit isn't so big that it's changing the way that you pull from the floor too much. The worst thing ever is when you're in a bridge block on lower days and Chad's voice comes up. 30 seconds remaining. It's like, just go away.
I did that when I was cooking dinner last night, and the steaks are almost ready, and I said, 30 seconds remain. I heard every no.
It did. Nobody wants to hear that. I don't know. I feel like, for me, these deficits are the worst.
Deficit halting.
That's diabolical.
Cool as she is.
I know, I feel like this added more to my deficit, so probably should have just took these babies off, but it would ruin the aesthetic. The look, a lot of red. I haven't used a belt since I stopped competing, but typically you're going to be stronger with a belt. So make sure you adjust your maxes in the app if you're going to do a beltless block, because chances are you're not going to be as strong. So I know I did 165 kilos deficit for 3 with no belt. I'm going to shave some of my time off here because I have Plate Boy to unload my weights, but if I were to do it myself, well, I had a minute.
So I already told you about my armpit tickling services to improve your deadlift technique, but if you need Plate Boy services, that's Venmo is Plate Boy 69. So just go ahead and shoot it over there.
Okay, next thing I have is single leg glute bridges. As you know, I'm a big baby. I don't like to load the barbell and put it over my hips. Booty Sprout, unsponsored. They didn't give us this for free. It's just easy. It doesn't hurt. It's effective. Also, you notice I just did deficit conventional deadlift. So my accessory stuff, I pick things that, that work things that I want to work. I want to work my glutes, but also I'm not trying to work too hard and do all of these crazy heavy exercises and not do them well. So,
when you look at a session and it's just the movements or muscles are, and you've got a deadlift and then you've got, a glute or posterior chain exercise and maybe a unilateral exercise, making that session deficit deadlifts, barbell hip thrusts, barbell split squat, or barbell walking lunges is going to be a vastly more fatiguing session than deficit deadlift, band resisted hip thrust, and dumbbell split squats or dumbbell walking lunges. Like, you don't need to pick the biggest exercise for everything. And particularly if your goal is competitive powerlifting and lifting the most that you can on bench, squat, and deadlift on one given day, just using the exercises that support that goal but don't detract from it. Like, don't save it on the deadlift so you can do more on the barbell hip thrust after. Just choose a lighter weight or a lesser stimulating variation after.
Yes, and to add to everything you just said, a lot of times people say my lower day is taking me 2.5, 3 hours. Well, it's probably going to take that long if you're picking those harder exercises, because you're going to need to have more rest in between those sets to make it good.
So, and we're not telling you to pick these smaller exercises to be lazy or just like as a cop out, but you can, get more out of less with those type of movements too. If you're focusing on big range of motion, going with a slow eccentric and paused in the full stretch position stuff. So when you're trying to challenge the muscle through the technique and execution of the exercise, not just by, I'm going to load up, 500 pounds on the barbell hip thrust. If it's a secondary exercise for the day, like, don't do that. If you're using it as a primary movement, sure, go for it. But don't feel bad if you're choosing less fatiguing options, but then get the most out of those less fatiguing options by the way you execute them.
Okay, next exercise I have is banded glute kickbacks. So this is another variation. I chose this block because in the previous 2 blocks, I was doing back raises. So just wanted to change it up a little bit. And as you heard Chad speak about, depending on where you're at in your competition journey, you want to pick exercises that are going to support your goals. I just want to get a big butt at this point. So I'm just doing exercises that are going to kind of focus on that and still give me a strong posterior chain. I'm doing these with the band. If you're in a garage gym, they actually even sell bands that have like a foot attachment to it. If you're in a commercial gym, use a cable. You're going to be able to overload it a little bit more. Even some gyms have specific machines that are just kickback machines that are plate loaded. So if you have access to that, highly recommend it. The commercial gym I train at has one of those. It's amazing. And you really, really feel it like at the shelf, as it were. So if you're really trying to get that dunk, explore commercial gyms in your area. Even if you train in your garage, I highly recommend maybe once a week having a commercial gym day. Gets you out of your familiar area, gets you into a new environment. And sometimes that sparks new energy into your training and gives you access to newer and different equipment. Okay, so with the banded glute kickbacks, I just want to show you something here when you're using a band. I'm using a green band. So I'm going to hit bands here. And those are kind of average strength. I'm going to hit done because I did that set. But I also, want to put in the notes, used green band. This way you kind of can track what you're doing. And going into the next block, this starts to feel easy. By second or third week, I can go ahead and jump to a black band or jump to a green and a red band together if the black band is too much resistance. So just make sure you're using that notes area in the app because it does carry over into your following week so you can see what you did the previous week. Also be mindful of where your feet are when you're doing the bands because it's going to affect the resistance. If I move my back foot back here, it's going to be a little bit harder because now I've stretched the band a little bit more. So kind of just be mindful of where your foot is as well because that's another way to change the resistance level of the bands that you're using. Okay, so last lower exercise, and then I have abs. I have lunges in place. Good time to use straps, especially because I had deadlifts as my first exercise. Kind of taxes the grip a little bit. So if grip is not a limiting factor, you're not trying to work on grip for powerlifting, again, use the straps. It's just going to make it easier because, again, my grip is tired and I want to make sure that I'm going to get the most out of this exercise without worrying about my grip. If I'm worried about my grip, I'll use 15s and then I really won't be getting too much out of these. So I have one final set here, and then I have abs. I just want to, quick note on, typically like on nutrition note here, I have a Gatorade that's going to deliver like kind of quick sugars to kind of keep you going. Highly recommend having that when you're training, especially on lower days. I don't have that. I'm really feeling it. I need a little bit of those like quick carbs. And I didn't do it on my last set, but I want to mention it on this one, this final one. Always start with your weaker leg on unilateral exercises, because I did my right leg first and I was like, oh my God, I'm already tired from my left leg. And it's just, you're more fresh, you're gonna be more focused. So start with the weaker leg first. That's my left leg. So I'm gonna correct my mistake on this set here and do that leg first. I'm like on week 2 or 3 here on this block. It's 2 reps in reserve. So you saw in that set, I only did 9 reps because I want to have 2 reps left in the tank. Because my left leg is weaker, I stopped at 9. When you're doing the unilateral work, if I only did 9 on my left, do the same amount on my right leg. If anything, on the weaker leg, sometimes I do like a rep more on that leg because it is weaker. There is a bit of an imbalance there, but just because I could do maybe 12 on this leg, have 2 reps in reserve, this leg's already stronger. I don't want to create a bigger imbalance there. Topo chicos. Not good at intra-training, but delicious nonetheless. Okay, last but not least, have abs. You guys saw this in a reel that we posted about like our favorite exercises that keep our back healthy. These are an exercise given to me by Pay, my PT, and it's just involves some rotational movement. Because we do everything in powerlifting in run direction, it is very good to have rotational movements in there. And again, because today was already hard, obviously you can tell I cannot breathe, I'm winded. I'm not trying to pick, dragon flags or some hard ab exercise. I want to do something in there that's going to give me some rotation, but also not be so, physically demanding. I don't want to be Bruce Lee today, so we're doing these. Easy way to set this up. Take your band, step on it, make sure it's secure because you don't want the band flying out. Get your hair, make sure it's out of the way. Gonna grab it, then with your opposite hand, pull it across so that it's across your shoulders, and then grab it here, and then you're gonna twist, really focusing on the oblique. And as you're rotating, doing more flexion. So we're not staying in an extension, we're getting into flexion and rotating to the side. That was that. Let's see how long it took us here. Finish workout. 37 minutes or lower. Am I winded? Yes. I mean, if you need to take longer breaks in between, like the deadlifting, by all means do so. You want to make sure, especially on those bigger movements, that you're not going so fast that now your form and your technique is suffering. Again, just be mindful. If you don't have great work capacity and maybe you're starting out with, let's just say, 8 minutes between sets, try to cut that to 7. Try to cut that gradually. Don't go from those 8-minute breaks to 60 to 90 seconds because you'll probably feel like you're going to have a heart attack. But try to reduce that if you need to decrease the amount of time that you're in the garage. Again, make sure that you're picking a rep scheme that's manageable. You don't always have to be on that higher end rep scheme. And make sure you're answering that readiness questionnaire the right way. If you typically get fatigued very fast or you can't recover, just be honest. I'd rather have less reps than feel defeated because you can't finish the workout. Other things, bands. Even if you're in your garage, especially if you're in a commercial gym, always test the integrity of the band, because the last thing you want is it to snap on you, come back and hit you, break when you're doing pull-ups. It's not pleasant. It has happened to me before and it hurts. It snapped back down onto my glute. So check the integrity of your equipment, whether you're in a commercial gym or you're at home. Thank you guys so much for following along with my training. Make sure you like, you subscribe, and also just leave us a comment. What would you like to see more of? And we will go ahead and we will make that happen. As always, if you want to join the best community, get strong with me and the rest of the crew, go to JuggernautAI.app. You get 2 weeks free so you can try it out. We're also constantly improving. We're trying to make it better and better. So we encourage you to join, get those 2 weeks free, and join the community.